ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਫ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਵੇਰ ਨਾਲ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਲੈਟਰ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ ਟੂ ਦ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਹਾਈ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨਰ ਸੰਜੇ ਵਰਮਾ ਔਰ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਓਮਰ ਔਲ ਗਬਰਾ ਨੂੰ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੈਟਰ 'ਚ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਹੈ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਤੋਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਜਾਂ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਫਲਾਈਟ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਣ। ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਓਪਨ ਸਕਾਈਜ਼ ਐਗਰੀਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਔਰ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੰਗ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਹੱਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਪੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ। ਸੋ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਬੈਂਕ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੀਸੈਂਟ ਰੇਟ ਹਾਈਕ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ। ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर joining with us today and welcome to Prime Asia, and we wish you a very happy new year 2023. First of all, welcome.
Happy New Year to you, Mr. Chopra. I'm honored to be with you today and look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre. There is a big demand from the Indo-Canadian community, especially from the Punjabis living in Canada, about the direct flights from Canadian cities to Indian city of Punjab, either in Amritsar or in Chandigarh. And we know that the population has growth very highly here in Canada, and there are more than 1 million people, Punjabi origin people living in Canada. And recently you wrote a letter also to High Commissioner of India, Mr. Sanjay Verma, and Transport Minister. So what are the open sky agreements? Because recently the federal government, they expanded that agreement, but why this demand of a direct flight from Canada to Amritsar or Chandigarh in Punjab? That demand has not been fulfilled by any government. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Poilievre?
Well, the reason is that we have 1 million Canadians of Punjabi origin who want to be able to go back and visit family easily and simply. And as you know, it's a massive nuisance and pain in the neck. Massive distraction to have to land in a faraway city and either drive the distance or wait long periods of time for a connecting flight from, I don't know, Mumbai or Delhi or Calcutta when you could go directly. So this is a major failure for Justin Trudeau. Another example of how he's taking Punjabi Canadians for granted while ignoring their legitimate desires and aspirations. This open skies agreement could have included a direct flight to the state of Punjab, but it didn't. My office has been in contact with the High Commissioner's office, and I don't think that the Indian government has any real objection. I understand that other countries, like Singapore, for example, do have direct flights to the Punjabi cities. So why can't Canada? Obviously, the problem is with the Trudeau government, and that is why I've sent a letter to Trudeau's incompetent minister who failed on this. But more importantly, I'm reaching out directly to the High Commissioner, and I'm going to see if we can go around the Trudeau government to get this done.
Mr. Poilievre, is that the diplomatic relations are not on the right path between Indian government and Kenyan government, that this is a hurdle between for this issue to be resolved?
It could be. We all remember Justin Trudeau's embarrassing and humiliating trip to India, where he danced around and embarrassed our whole country. But it's probably more likely that that Trudeau and his government are just so out of touch. They weren't listening to our Punjabi communities. He doesn't spend time with the community anymore. Him and his MPs take the community for granted. And so I think he was just asleep at the switch and forgot to do this. And that's why I'm stepping up to remind him and to fight for a direct flight for our Canadian citizens.
And do you think, is it possible, because you wrote a strong letter to High Commissioner and Transport Minister, is that doable by both the governments?
Yes, I have the letter here, actually. And you're right, I did write a very strong letter. And I said an international airport in the state of Punjab, such as those in Amritsar or Chandigarh, would have had reason to expect greater traffic from Canadians than others designated under the agreement. Instead, they will have to drive, Canadians will have to drive for several hours to the airport at Delhi. Canadians wanted an airport in the state of Punjab to be included, and this would be a key priority for you in the negotiations. I'm saying this to Mr. Al-Gabra. I don't know why Trudeau's minister didn't prioritize this, but I am going to keep the pressure on, and I'm going to seek a meeting with the High Commissioner, whom I understand is very sympathetic. I understand, very much interested in working with Canadians and improving relations. So I have every reason to believe that we can push this forward.
Mr. Poilievre, another important issue for Canadians, that is Bank of Canada's recent announcement, and 8th time in a row. We have not seen
Yes.
in the world, any part in the world, that the interest rate has been hiked 8th time. You yourself
Yes.
from a finance background, if you can explain to Canadians that, is that the only solution to reduce the inflation from 6.3% to 3% by increasing the interest rate again and again? And we remember in the fifth time when they raised the interest rate, that time they said this might be the last. And 8th time when they increased, they gave a signal that this might be the last. So is this the only solution to reduce the inflation, or there are other ways also?
Well, the way to reduce inflation is to reverse Justin Trudeau's inflationary deficits. According to the governor of the Bank of Canada, all of Trudeau's borrowing is bidding up the cost of the goods we buy and the interest that we pay. Trudeau promised rates wouldn't go up. He said to Canadians, go out and borrow boatloads of money because rates will be low for long. And so what happened? Businesses in places like Surrey and Brampton went out and took loans. Families stretched themselves to take $1 million mortgages so they could have a home. And now, a sucker punch from the Trudeau government. Higher rates. They're up eight hikes, 4 percentage points. The Bank of Canada's rate has gone from 0.25 to 4.5. That is an 18-fold increase. I don't know of any time in history that rates have risen so fast. And those hikes have all happened in 1 year. So Trudeau is hammering our families and our small businesses with higher inflation and interest rates. What would I do? I would cap government spending and cut government waste, including firing the high-priced consultants who are gobbling up $15 billion of our tax dollar money every year. That works out to $1,000 per family. I get rid of all that waste, get rid of the deficit, balance the budget, and then I would reform our tax and programs in order to make work pay so people bring home more of their paychecks.
Mr. Poilievre, in July 2020, Bank of Canada's governor, he made a statement to the Canadians, a message to the Canadians that interest rate will be low for a longer time, and any businesses, Canadian businesses and any Canadians, they can do the investment, and Canadians trust on that. We have that clip, that video also. After that, Canadians trusted that let's buy. And I'll talk about the, you mentioned some examples also. I'll mention that first time home buyer, a new immigrant who came to this country a couple of years ago, they trusted and they invested. And their mortgage was $3,300. Now they are paying $5,600 and they cannot afford anything. What should Canadians do now after this hike too?
Oh, that's a very tough question. Trudeau has put people in a panicked state of crisis. As you say, the Trudeau government told people, don't worry, interest rates will be low for long. And now all of a sudden, bam, rates are up 4 or 5%, and people don't know how they're going to pay their mortgages. The desperation that I'm seeing in communities across the country is people have no idea how they're going to pay. The average house in Toronto now costs $7,000 a month in mortgage payments. Insane increases. And that is all because people took on enormous mortgages because Trudeau promised it was going to be cheap. Look, if you took on $1 million mortgage for a house in Brampton, your mortgage payment is up $40,000 a year in 1 year because of the Trudeau rate hikes. This is unsustainable. So here's my plan: cap government spending, balance the budget, bring down inflation and interest rates, and reform and cut taxes so people can bring home more of their paychecks to pay these outrageous bills.
Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland in her one of the speech said that Bank of Canada is an independent body and government cannot do anything into that. And you said that if you become a Prime Minister, you will fire the Bank of Canada governor. What do you want to say on that?
Well, if a waitress doesn't do her job, what happens? If a barber doesn't do his job, what happens? So if a big shot banker doesn't do his job, what happens? Well, in my government, he'll be fired. There's not going to be two classes of Canadians, the working class and then the well-off class. If people in my government do a bad job, they'll be fired. This guy printed $400 billion to fund Trudeau's crazy deficits that bid up the cost of living. And then he told people like Justin Trudeau that the rates would not go up. Well, they're up. They're up 4.5% in 1 year. So he didn't do his job. Canadians are losing their homes, their livelihoods. They're going bankrupt because of him and Trudeau. So when Canadians fire Trudeau, then I'll be firing the Bank of Canada governor as well.
Mr. Poilievre, today Canadians are facing many issues. I won't say a single, but many and many. And one of that is crime also, because affordability, yes, inflation, and homeless, because people, they are going to food banks. There are many issues. So we'll touch the crime one first, because we here in the region of Peel and in Toronto, in GTA area or in Ontario, we'll see the carjackings non-stop, 52 cars being stolen in a single day, and more than 500 cars stolen in region of Peel in a month. And that's non-stop, and that's going on for last 2 years plus. And then crime rates, stabbing, gun shootings. In the schools, we see the shootings happen every single day. So why crime rate is so high? And even police, Region of Peel Police Chief Nishan Duryappa, they presented their budget. They need more funding, more budget, more police officers. Even where the healthcare premiers, they are asking funding for the healthcare. Where Canada is heading and what you'll see on this crime scene here in Canada.
Well, Justin Trudeau's catch and release, bail and criminal justice policies have unleashed a massive crime wave. Trudeau introduced a law that requires the most violent repeat offenders to be released the same day they're arrested. And what do? They go back out into the street and commit more crime. Some police tell me that they arrest the same person 3 or 4 times in the same day. The BC Union of Mayors wrote a letter saying that 40 offenders in Vancouver were responsible for 6,000 crimes in 1 year. 40 doing 6,000 arrests. That means 150 arrests per person per year for one person. It's crazy. So why don't we put those 40 people in jail instead of having them back out on the street, stabbing people on TTC trains, or, sorry, in that case, it's Vancouver, I should say, stabbing people in Eastside Vancouver or attacking people as they get onto a bus. Those 40 criminals should be in jail. Second thing, we should put more money into police and border security to stop the gun smugglers and gangsters. Instead, Trudeau wants to spend billions of dollars going after hunters. He wants to ban hunting rifles. I don't know about you, but I don't think that the hunter from Nunavut or from Labrador is the person who's shooting up inner city Toronto or Vancouver. It's the gangsters and gun smugglers. So stop going after hunting rifles and start going after real criminals. And that's what I will do.
Mr. Poilievre, 6 police officers were being killed in less than 1 year's time. And we know that here in Ontario, the crime rate is so high. And I'll say that 5 bank robberies happened. Out of 5, 4 bank robberies were done by the same people. They were out on bail again and again. And it's shocking. Not shocking just for the Canadians, it's shocking for our police forces also. And we are not acting on that. If you become a prime minister, how will you tackle this issue effectively? Because right now, Canada is not comparing with the US in terms of the affordability, rates, housing prices less in US. We are comparing with other countries. Why this is happening here?
2 words, Justin Trudeau. He sent cost of living and crime soaring in our country. His inflationary deficits have sent inflation to 40-year highs and interest rates rising faster than at any time in Canadian history. And his catch and release policies are allowing the same violent thugs who did the first bank robbery you mentioned to do 3 others. We see it again and again. Look at these poor people who were stabbed to death in Saskatchewan about 3 months ago. The attackers had already been convicted roughly 60 times, 60, but they're released under Justin Trudeau's catch and release policies. So what's the solution? Toughen the laws, lengthen the sentences for violent repeat offenders, and take the money away from banning hunting rifles and use it to stop illegal guns coming from the States.
Mr. Poilievre, your final words to Indo-Canadian community in Canada.
Well, I hope everyone had a wonderful Lori celebration to celebrate the warm sun coming back to the northern peoples of the world. I want to say that there's a warmth coming to Canada. We've had a very long 8-year winter under Justin Trudeau of rising crime and cost of living. However, springtime is on the way. We're going to restore hope, make our streets safe, our paychecks more powerful, our taxes, inflation, and interest rates lower. That's the bright future that everyone can look forward to. Now, let's bring it home.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre, for coming and discussing all these important issues which are important for the Canadians. Thank you very much.
An honor to be with you, Mr. Chopra, and many blessings to you and your family.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre.